Xavier asked, "Can you see Williams, Randall, and Brown starting at wide receiver?" Yeah, totally. I think those are the three that kind of have a leg up on everybody else from a experience standpoint and all of that. Especially Antonio Williams and Adam Randall having being they'll be juniors now. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And obviously Tyler Brown was a huge impact player when Clemson needed it last year. But I think there's going to be a lot of rotation in this wide receiver room because I just think there's a lot of guys that can potentially contribute. We talk about the two true freshmen, but you still got Troy Stellato, Cole Turner. What is Ronan Hannafin and Noble? How do they Noble Johnson? How do they factor in as second year players? There's a lot of. I think there's a lot of flexibility with how this the rotation kind of and the divvying up of snaps kind of shakes out because I think there's a lot of guys that have played that have played a good bit at this point that I think can play.
It's going to be difficult to divvy up the snaps.
Yeah, maybe Troy Stellato is a starter, and who knows? So it's like
that's what I'm saying. Like Troy Stellato, that's another guy. I mean, you talk about the two highly touted freshmen that we expect to make impacts this year, and Wesco and TJ Moore. I mean, look, this wide receiver room is slam full. But you mentioned Randall. Like I expect that dude to have a different season. I expect him to look like a completely different player this year. I think we started to see it towards the end of last season, and I really expect for him to kind of really take that next step forward because we really need a guy like him to step up. That's what Clemson really needs in that wide receiver room. Not that the younger guys can't do it, and maybe they will, but it's more likely to come from a veteran guy like a Randall, right? But I wouldn't want to be the wide receiver coach making decisions to divvy up all those snaps because there's a lot of dudes out there that have proven that they can contribute in a big way to this Clemson team and this offense.
And I didn't even mention a guy like Tink Kelly, who they think is going to factor. He could be an offensive weapon. He's definitely probably going to be a factor in the return game. So it's like, I mean, there's a lot of guys in this room.
A lot of guys. So good luck to the coaching staff working out those snaps.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm surprised. Like you lost Bo Collins, and that was that. Like I expected more.
I definitely expected more. Specifically wide receiver, defensive tackle, just to name a couple position groups where I expected more exits, but it didn't happen. And it's a good problem to have, I think. And just knock on wood. But the injuries that Clemson has sustained at the wide receiver position for the past few years, it's a good thing that it's a full room of guys that we really think can contribute in a big way. Because if you do have a guy go down, maybe it doesn't affect you as much as it did in years past because of the amount of guys that you have in that room that you feel like can step on the field and play, winning football, if you will.
Yeah, he says that if Randall stays healthy, he will impress a lot of people. Yeah, I am on the Adam Randall train. This is the last time I'm going to go all out with the hype for him, but I really think that he, I think he is starting to get his legs under him, like literally. Yeah. I think last year was about him kind of sort of finding his confidence again, coming off of the ACL tear, and it didn't come together for him completely, but he showed a lot of promise. Especially he made some big plays in the bowl game. I think this year is like if he can, I think he can finally shed all of that and fully trust his body and his natural God-given ability. Because I mean, man, you look at him and you're just like, that is an NFL like first, second round caliber receiver. Like,
yeah,
dude that big that runs that fast, like anybody in the country would want him.
so yeah,
And
for
so it's
sure.
like he has he's like I think I consider him the X factor of this wide receiver room because he's the guy that is like if he has a big year, everything else comes
Yeah,
into place. Really, it just I mean we're high on Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore coming in and think they're going to play. But if you get if you get good play out of those guys and Adam Randall becomes the Adam Randall that we thought we were getting.
yeah.
I mean, the sky's the limit, man. And then you still have Antonio Williams and Tyler Brown and Troy Stellato as ancillary pieces that can be playmakers for you. Like that's really, I mean, that's a really good room, man. Like I don't know,
Yeah,
like
it's a super impressive room, and if you get a breakout season from Randall, like you were saying, man, like sky's the limit for this wide receiver room because if he has a breakout season, it makes everything else so much easier in that wide receiver. Like think about how much easier integrating TJ Moore is going to be if Randall has a breakout season, right? Like the way that you will be able to use TJ Moore versus if you're leaning on him to be that guy in the offense this year, right? Like, he can have, if you have a breakout season from Randall, he can come along and be that freshman piece like a Justin Ross did, right? Back in 2018, right? So like not comparing those receivers at all. That's not what I'm trying to do.
I mean, who knows?
It could happen, right?
They have the talent.
Because, Ross had a guy, T. Higgins, right?
The numbers
T. Higgins was the guy, right? Yeah. And then Ross was just like, he's over there and all of a sudden he's catching all these passes and these defenses are like, man, who the heck is Justin Ross, dude? Like, we're over here trying to scheme T. Higgins up and now this dude's over here freaking dunking on our heads, right? So, I mean, just a breakout season from Randall would really open stuff up for this offense and really make those other guys be able to come in and integrate a much easier way and really make it difficult for defenses to scheme. So let's hope he stays healthy. He's finally healthy. I really just want to see him, fully develop into what we always thought he could be when he first committed to Clemson before the 2 knee surgeries, right? Yeah. So hopefully we get the opportunity to see that this season because that dude's an animal. If he can just stay on the field and not get banged up and keep his confidence going.